Hey there, Julie Stonefelt here, coming to you from my homestead in the Snoqualmie Valley of Washington State. Today I'm going to talk to you about the growing mix that we are putting in our raised beds. So we got some great soil from a local nursery, and we've done that in our beds that are in the ground with our native soil, but in our raised beds, which we're using stock tanks. And if you're not sure what a stock tank is, you can watch my video about that. But in the stock tanks today, our raised beds, we do something different. And we include soil. It's one of 4 equal parts that we're putting in it. And I'm going to talk to you about what those parts are. And I've heard people call this soil, but I think a better way to describe it would be to call it a growing mix or a growing medium, because it's a little different. And now I'll tell you how that's different. So this first part we have is the soil. And the soil itself has 3 different components. One of them is sand for drainage. One is mulch, which is like ground up sticks and hay, and that's good for water retention and structure. And then compost. And what's great about this compost in here is it's local horse manure and vegetables. So there's lots of nice, good micronutrients for that. The second part in our growing mix is also compost. This compost has 3 different parts to it, and they are composted steer manure, chicken manure, and mushroom compost. What's great about these is I can buy them in the bag at local stores and fit those bags in my Subaru, and it's a really great option to get lots of different types of compost for different micronutrients. It's got a really nice dampness to it. So 3 different composts in one part. The fourth part is probably one of the most unusual ones, and this is called vermiculite. And vermiculite is, my understanding is that it comes from mining associated with oil and gas. I'm not a big fan of that, but I've also heard that vegetables that you buy at the grocery store are coming from average 800 miles away from where you live. So I'm hoping that even though this is related to an industry I don't love, that using it will help offset the amount of oil and gas used to bring food to my home. It's a really nice lightweight component. It's non-toxic, and it holds water really well, as well as provides drainage. So it's very nice and light. And there's one part that this can be a little bit hard to find in bigger quantities. You can find it in small quantities for really expensive at hardware stores, but you can find bigger quantities in horticultural markets. So I did just a bunch of calling around and found a store in the next county over where I was able to get it for $20 for 3.5 cubic feet. So the fourth component that we're using is called coconut peat or coconut core fiber, and it's in this bucket right here. And this is an alternative to peat moss or sphagnum moss, which is something you can also buy pretty easily at hardware and nursery stores. The reason I'm using the coconut fiber instead is that my understanding is that peat is a pretty limited resource and can be destructive to natural environments and ecosystems. But this is an alternative that is a byproduct of the coconut industry. So all that coconut milk and coconut oil that you buy has, fiber that grows with it that needs to go somewhere. So this adds a nice light fluffiness and holds water really well. So we're doing one part of that. So those are the 4 components that we're using in our growing mix. And now Kevin's gonna show you how we are mixing it. Now, if you were doing this at home on a small scale, you could mix it in a wheelbarrow. If you had a 5-gallon bucket, you could do 1 part per those 4 in a 5-gallon bucket with a lid and roll it around and mix it up. You could do it in a kiddie pool. We are doing 1,300 gallons of growing mix. And so Kevin had this brilliant idea that he got from working in Iowa farms to use a cement mixer. So he's going to demonstrate how we're mixing our growing medium. then once
Video's started,
Okay.
so when you're ready.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so here we have a full raised bed, and it took us a couple of wheelbarrows to fill it, and you can see it has this really lovely, crumbly, just wonderful texture that's got lots of nutrients in it. We're not going to have to add any powdered or chemical type of fertilizers, and all the little seeds, as they grow, their roots are going to have a nice, easy time getting a hold in here. It's also going to hold moisture really well. Now, I've got this full up to sort of the rolled edge and up to the top of these tubes. And if you want to know more about what these tubes are, I did a video on the beds. But what I really want is for this to be a little bit lower. Now, the reason is that I filled it this way. Over time, it's going to sink and it's going to settle a bit. And I want to have that gap because eventually we'll come in and we'll put mulch in here. And the mulch will act like a nice blankie, and it will keep the seed bed a good, more uniform temperature. It's going to help retain moisture and also prevent weeds from getting hold. But right now we're going to keep it like this and let it sink just a bit more since it's a brand new bed. So there you go. That is my growing medium growing mix. And thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Stay well, do good work, and keep in touch.